Hey, best friend, Dr. Britt here. I am going to talk to you today about something that is a little bit controversial. Now, why is it controversial, you ask me? Because people would say that this topic could cause others to experience more shame due to what's going on in them. I feel like very excited about just kind of leaving that hanging for just a second. So the thing that's controversial is you can choose happiness. Now, the reason, again, that that's controversial is because people would say that that's not fair. It's not fair to say that someone dealing with depression can choose happiness, that someone dealing with anxiety can choose happiness. People would say that. They would also say that even me saying that you can choose happiness, well, that's shaming in and of itself. And really, you may be thinking, who are you, Dr. Britt? Like, you of all people should know that people aren't choosing depression. People aren't choosing anxiety. And I would, for the most part, I will not fully agree with that statement, but for the most part, I would say that people don't wake up and go, I think I'm going to be depressed today. So stay with me because this is going to get exciting, friend. You know, research tells us that most people have the desire for happiness as one of their top goals. Well, and honestly, between the two of us, like, that's not surprising. Who doesn't want to be happy? I want to be happy. Who doesn't want to be happy? So, not surprising. And that is supported over and over and over in research, is that people want to be happy. But what is happiness? What is happiness? There are a lot of definitions for even what happiness is. And the first one is, which I definitely agree with, happiness is subjective. Because what I feel happy doing, the feeling of happiness for me, may be very different than the happiness that you experience or what it is that makes you happy. Happiness is also correlated with well-being. A lot of people say that it is well-being. If you have true happiness, then you have well-being. Now, some people would say that happiness is kind of fleeting, but if you have something that's long-standing, well, that's actually joy and not happiness. The happiness is momentary, but joy is long-lasting. Some people would say that happiness is more than just a mood. Or they may say it's this transient emotion that comes and goes. It's here and then it's gone, and it's here and then it's gone. Some people would say that we have happiness when we experience fulfillment. Some people would say that happiness is really this long-term process of meaning making. That's what some people would say. And so it's interesting, even as we're talking about this, that we may be even confused on what happiness actually is. What happiness actually is. So stay with me because we're going to define it even further. We're going to get even more clear on what that is. What happiness is. So research also suggests that just because we improve our life doesn't actually mean that we're more happy. I bet that you've probably known somebody who makes a lot of money and they're unhappy. I bet you've probably known someone that has a job that anyone would give their, organ or appendage for, and they're unhappy. I bet that you have known someone who is married to someone that you would go, man, I wonder what it would be like to be married to them. And they're unhappy. So improving our life circumstances does not always make us any more happy. And if that's true, because research tells us that this is true, if that's true, then happiness isn't a byproduct of my life any more than depression or anxiety is a byproduct of my life. Let me say that again. If that's true, that improving our life circumstances doesn't make us any more happy, then our life circumstances don't make us any more depressed or anxious. I can think about a time I've gone on several missions trips in my life to other countries and gone to places that are third world countries. The conditions are pretty negative. I even remember going to Haiti weeks after the giant earthquake that was there. And everything was just truly in shambles. And walking around and seeing people were still visibly happy in spite of everything that they had being wiped away, visibly happy, and recognizing truly that our circumstances do not dictate our happiness unless we give them that kind of power. Our circumstances do not have to dictate more negative feelings unless we give them the power to do it. Rumi, let me find that quote. Rumi said, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." The wound is the place where the light enters you. What does that mean? That sometimes the things in our life that are painful are often where we find light, often where we find happy. Have you ever had something awful, sad, maybe horrendous or traumatic happen to you, but you could still be happy? People are happy if they think they are happy. That's what research tells us. This is not out of Dr. Britt's brain. This is literally research that says people are happy if they think they are happy. I'm going to tell myself again. So on, how old was I? 21, maybe 2021. I was driving home from college for spring break. I was going to go to Vegas with my family, and unbeknownst to me, I had mono. And it was 11 a.m. in the morning, and I was driving on this stretch of highway. And in Texas, we have they're like road bumps, and if you cross over into them, they will wake you up. They're very loud. Not in Oklahoma where I was, because I went to the University of Arkansas. So I was driving home and I fell asleep. And it wasn't because I stayed up late. It wasn't because I was partying or things like that. That was not my life. I'd gone to sleep. But again, unbeknownst to me, I had mono. And so at 11 a.m. in the morning, and I will never forget this. I was like, all right, the next town up, I'm tired. I'm just going to pull over and I'm going to get like a Mountain Dew or something. And now 35-year-old me is like, oh my gosh, Mountain Dew that has 65 grams of sugar in it. What in the blue blazes would I be thinking? But anyways, that's what I was going to do. I was going to, get some caffeine and some sugar, and I was going to make it all better. Well, between that thought and the next town, which I think probably was 10 miles out, I fell asleep. My car was on cruise control, 77-ish miles per hour, and my car veered off into there was a field. My car veered off into the field, and the sound of grass is actually what woke me up. And I remember it seems like it was in slow motion almost, but I brought my car back into the lane, and I really overcorrected because I was, jolted awake basically. And so I was like, okay, I'm okay. I remember thinking I'm okay. And then my car spun around, 180, not 360, spun around 180. I'm watching cars come towards me. It's terrifying. I'm watching cars come towards me. My car then completes that 360. So it's a 180. I'm now going the appropriate direction. And I remember again thinking, okay, I'm okay. Everything's okay. I'm going to be fine. And I was not fine. If you're watching the video of this on YouTube, you can actually see it. But we had this median, and my car propped up on the median. Now, you decide how that actually happens, because there was no ramp. There were no tire treads on the median. So you tell me how my car gets up on the median. But that's a conversation for another day. But I promise I'm going somewhere with this. So my car props up on the median. Where I was about 2 hours away from my hometown. And I remember looking around and going, this was my first thought. Well, this did not go as planned. Not, oh my gosh, I almost died. That was terrifying. All of these things. My first thought was, well, that did not go as planned. I want you to hear, even as I'm saying this to you, the evaluation I made of the situation. Now, I was insanely grateful to be alive. But my first thought was just like, well, this was not in the plan. I just heard Siri in the background. Or Alexa in the background. I wonder if she thinks I'm talking to her far away. That's really funny. So I'm telling you the story, and here we are. My car's on top of the median. People see what happened. People stop. They are running over, trying to make sure I'm okay. My car was, it was totaled, but not because it smashed into the median. I think I couldn't even tell you what it was, but I broke something by propping up on the median. But I was alive. And my first thought, I'm coming back to this purposely. I'm like drilling this into your head. My first thought was, well, that didn't go according to plan. And I had to call my parents, and my brother drove up to get me. And I waited in McDonald's in McAlester, Oklahoma for 2.5 hours or so. And I was alive. I didn't focus on the thing that was negative. I chose in that moment to focus on, well, that didn't go according to plan. And you may go, Dr. Britt, you're lying to me. I promise I'm not lying to you. I'm telling you the truth. That was my first thought, because those sorts of thoughts had been practiced in my life. Those sorts of thoughts of like, well, can't control that. Okay, well, here we are. You are happy if you think that you are. I could have said, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing that could have ever happened to me. My parents are going to be so mad at me. How could I do that? I'm so dumb. What an idiot. I could have gone that path. I didn't. I said, well, that did not go according to plan. So many things in your life, because life is like that, do not go according to plan. Research also tells us, and I'm gonna read this because I want you to really get this. People's evaluations of their lives. So you, listener, my friend, your evaluation of your life and encompasses both. So your evaluation of your life encompasses both cognitive judgments of satisfaction and the appraisal of your mood and emotions. Let me say that again. Let me say it less doctor-y and more like, hey, me to you. So the meaning, the evaluation of your life includes the meaning that you make of your life includes both your thinking judgments of the kind of satisfaction, the kind of happiness that you have in your life, and your overall understanding or evaluation, appraisal of your mood and your emotions. So, let me say it again. I'm going to keep saying it differently because I want it to get in. How you see your world, the meaning that you make of what is happening around you and the satisfaction that you have, and the meaning that you make of your mood and your emotions is what dictates whether you have happiness. That's it. You get to decide. I am not saying that bad things don't happen to us. I'm not saying that. If you listened to the previous episode, I talked about where I dealt with harassment, sexual harassment in the workplace. Or if you listen to the episode before that, you have heard me talk about infertility. If you're listening to this episode, you heard me tell you about a car crash that I had. And my life is full of many other things, but negative things that have happened. We get to evaluate the meaning of the thing that happens to us. We get to make a judgment of it, the kind of satisfaction that we have, and then the mood and emotions that we have, and we get to evaluate those also. You, friend, you, listener, you have the ability to choose happiness. Does clinical depression exist? Yes. Does clinical anxiety exist? Yes. 100% those things exist. And the more that we focus on how anxious, how depressed we are, then we begin to make an evaluation. We begin to decide, we begin to focus on the negative parts of our life. And by the way, if you focus on that, it will continue to grow. It will continue to grow. It can't not. Tony Robbins, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Where your focus goes, your energy flows. Where your focus goes, your energy where your focus goes, your energy flows. The more that you focus on that, the more that it's going to be. So if I were to focus on my car crash and how grateful I am to be alive, and yes, that did not go according to plan, and I'm still alive. I still get to see my family. I'm still going on the trip with my family, or I didn't end up in an ambulance, or all of these other things. If that's the thing that I'm focused on, then I'm not focused on how scary it was. I'm not focused on the anxiety that I had. I'm not focused on those things. Where your focus goes, your energy flows. You have to choose to focus on the happy thing. You have to choose to focus on the happy thing. The thing that you're grateful for. You know, this is like fascinating to me. I want you to stay with me. This is fascinating to me. So today, actually, I went through the DNA company, and because I wanted to see my DNA, I wanted to understand for health reasons how I needed to eat, work out, what I was predispositioned to, how my cells detox, those sorts of things, because I'm a nerd like that. But it also told me about my predispositions towards things. And by the way, I have a moderate predisposition for anxiety. And I'm more likely, pretty high, to experience burnout and need to be able to rest on a regular basis. And even higher than that is my likelihood to experience irritation and frustration. If you know me, if you are in my sphere, you know that I do not walk around focused on anxiety, dealing with the frustration of feeling like I'm on a hamster wheel or being burnt out. Now, have there been periods in my life that I have felt burnt out? Yes, I would be lying to you if I said that that wasn't the case. But my DNA says that I should feel burnt out on a regular basis. My DNA says that I should get irritated very easily, and feel frustration with ease. That is not true for me. So my DNA says, and yet I have overridden my DNA by focusing on the positive. I have overridden my DNA by staying in a place of gratitude. So if my DNA says that I should be a certain way and I'm not that way, I want to invite you, friend, that just because you may have a predisposition for a certain thing does not mean that you have to be that way. So, what do we even do about this? What do we do about this? Well, research tells us we need solid social support. So if you're a person that says, I don't have a lot of friends, I am a loner. And by the way, I'm introverted, but you can be an introvert and not be a loner. So find social support. Who are your people? Who are your people? And by the way, it is really important that your people are encouraging. It's really important that your people can give you a positive reframe, a new attitude, a way to see a situation differently. Because if your friends are just like, oh yeah, that's so bad, or I feel that too, or I can't believe whatever, then friend, y'all are going to stay in that place. You're going to stay in that place. My friends know that if they come to me, I will, because I am a counselor, I'm probably going to validate why they feel the way that they feel. I'm going to tell them it makes sense to me. And then I'm going to push them to move to a different direction. I'm going to tell them, all right, here we go. We can't stay there. And I call that thought redirecting, and that we can't stay there. For example, we experience negative things in our life sometimes on the daily. Maybe you have a boss that you don't like. Maybe you have a spouse that you're really struggling with. It's okay to have like two hands. I'm holding up two hands. So in one hand, it's okay to say, all right, I have this boss that I really struggle with. I feel like they come at me, or they're mean, or they're not for me. Okay, fine. Notice that. Notice the feelings of frustration that you might have. And come back, on the other hand, and focus on the kind of gratitude that you have in your life. So many things to be thankful for. Think about the things with your boss that you can focus on that are positive. They can't be all bad. Think of the things that you can focus on, or the money that you make, or the things that you do, whatever. Find things to redirect your thoughts are. And if you're in a situation where you're experiencing this on an ongoing basis, you're going to come back to things that don't feel good. It's going to show up. It's going to be like, oh, well, here he is again doing said thing. And I'm grateful I have this job. I have the ability to work. I'm grateful for what it provides for me or for my family, or whatever you need to redirect. And this is quite the dancing act, because it will come up and you will think it and you will go, all right, I'm focusing on it. I'm acknowledging it, and I'm coming back to where I want to bring my focus. All right, here it is. I'm acknowledging it. Here it is. And I come back and bring my focus. This is a dance. So many people feel like they can only have one emotion. They believe that they can only have one emotion at a time. No, you can have multiple ones. This is called cognitive complexity. This is called emotional complexity. I can have multiple thoughts, multiple emotions at one time. No big deal. We just find it, we recognize it, and we bring it back to where we focus on. So that is huge. You want to bring your focus to gratitude. You want to be happy in your life. Start your day with gratitude. End it with gratitude. Wins. I like to end with wins. Start with gratitude, end it with wins, and find all the ones in between. I'm really into NLP, and NLP talks about anchoring emotions. And the other day, I'm going to pull back from my microphone so this isn't as loud, but the other day I went in and I woke my daughter up, and she goes, "Mommy!" And it was like the warmest feeling to my heart. And I sat there on her bed next to her, just rubbing her back. And I replayed over and over and over the feeling that I had when she said, "Mommy." I replayed it over and over and over. I can go back right now as I'm telling you this. I have warmth like expanding in my chest, because I sat in that moment that felt good, and I anchored it. I felt it over and over and over and over, because I wanted to make sure, one, that I could remember it, and two, that feeling was easily accessible to me. Then some of you need to freaking remove words out of your vocabulary. We have words in the English language that we have attached meaning to. If I say love, that means something to you. If I say overwhelmed, that means something to you. If I say peeved, that means something to you. If I say rage, that means something to you. If I say disgruntled, that means something to you. Some of you feel emotions on a regular basis that you can access with ease because of the meaning that's attached to the label that you use. Recently at our event, me and another girl were talking about the word annoyed. And annoyed for me, from a 0 to a 10, is like a level 3. It's like borderline, like right above, like, this is inconvenient. I'm annoyed. But for her, it's a level 7. And if she rehearses, if she talks about how annoyed she is, it doesn't take her long to go from annoyed to very angry because of the meaning that's attached to annoyed. I challenged her, remove annoyed from your vocabulary. So if you have words that you use on a regular basis that help you access negative emotions, I'm going to encourage you to take them out of your vocabulary. If you say, I'm just really depressed on a regular basis, the moment that you use that word, your body is going to begin to access that feeling. Remove the word. Remove the word. Find a different word. See how your body begins to react. Because in theory, if you remove the word, then likely you're also going to remove the access to that feeling on a regular basis. Now, I want you to hear me. I'm very pro-emotion. So this isn't me denying, disavowing, telling you to ignore emotion in your life. That would be the last thing that I would ever want to do. What I am trying to teach you right now in this place, my friend, is to be able to shift your emotion. So, you can choose happiness. You can acknowledge the things that are negative and you can come back and choose happiness. So I just want to ask you a question. What word or words do you need to remove from your vocabulary? What word or words do you need to remove from your vocabulary? Friend, when would now be the right time? When would now be the right time to choose happiness, to choose having friends that support you? When would now be the right time? When would now be the right time to begin redirecting your thoughts, doing this dance as often as you can? When would now be the right time? I'm asking you, when would now be the right time? The answer is now. So, today, what is one thing that you need to do to shift to happiness? What is one thing that you need to do to shift to happiness and start today? Best friend, it was great to hang out with you. I love hanging out with you. And you know what? Happy friends are the best kind of friends to be around. And that doesn't mean that we don't have problems. It doesn't mean that we don't have challenges or sufferings in our life and that we don't need friends to carry that with us. But I will tell you that happy friends are the best kind of friends to be around. Not fake happiness, not a mask, not any of that nonsense. But yeah, I do have this stuff going on in my life and I can find places to be happy and I can continue to choose that emotion. I can come back to happiness as my emotional home. So friend, happy friends are the best kind of friends. And I want you to be my friend and to hang out with me on a regular basis. So it was great. It was great being with you today. And I look forward to much more of our time together.